As I've said, once you join the class, you should mute your mic. And people's mics are still on. So let me use another example to explain this. So if you have a diagram like this, I have different forces. So you have a force, you have another force, you have another one, then you have another one. So you have this force, maybe this is 20 Newton. You have this to be 25 Newton. You have this to be 20, let's say 26 Newton. You have this to be maybe 10 Newton. So this angle is 30 degrees. This angle is, let's say, 60 degrees. So, as you said, we list out each of the forces. You have 20 Newton. I've told you to mute your mic. So you have 20 Newton, you have 25 Newton, you have 26 Newton, and we have 10 Newton. So what are their angles? The angle for the 20 Newton is 90 degrees. That's this angle. Mute your mic. Then the angle for the 25 Newton is all of this angle, which is 90 plus 30. So 90 plus 30, that's going to give us 120 degrees. Then for the 26 Newton, you have all of this angle, which is 270 degrees. And for the 10, so for the 10 Newton, you measure all of this angle. Now, all of this angle is going to be 90 plus 90, that is 180, plus 90, that is 270. Now, we add 270 to this angle, and this angle is 30 degrees. So 270 plus 30, that is 300. So we now have all of the forces, and we have all of the angles. So we can now do the total fx and the total fy. So what are we going to have? For total fx, we have 20 cos 90 plus 25 cos 120 plus 26 cos 270 plus 10 cos 300. So for the total fy, we have 20 sine 90 plus 25 sine 120 plus 26 sine 270 plus 10 sine 300. So we get a value for total fx, we get a value for total fy. So for total fx, we press all this on our calculator. 20 cos 90 plus 25 cos 120 plus 26 okay, 20 cos 90 plus 25 cos 120 plus 26 cos 270 plus 10 cos 300. So this gives us, for the horizontal, we have minus 7.5. And if you press all this for the vertical, you're going to have 12.99. So you can get the resultant. The resultant, which is the net force, is going to be square root of 7.5 squared plus 12.99 squared. So this is going to give us 15. So this is going to give us 15 Newton. So the resultant is 15 Newton. Now we need to do the angle. Now the angle will be tan inverse of the vertical divided by the horizontal. But you don't need this minus that is here. We use it later. So the vertical is 12.99 divided by the horizontal is 7.5. So leave out the minus. Even if both of them have minus, there is minus here and there is minus here. Leave out the minus. Just do the angle normally. So you are doing shift tan of 12.99 divided by 7.5. So that gives us 59.999. That's 60 degrees. So this is the angle. Now, to now know what the actual value of the angle will be, you have to draw your coordinate axis and now draw your vectors with the sign that they have. For example, if you come and check now, look at your horizontal, it's having a negative sign. So this is horizontal. So negative sign will point to the left. Then your vertical is having a positive sign. So this is vertical. Positive sign will point up. Now look at the boundary of our arrow. So our arrow covered this part, up and left. So up and left is all of this part that falls in the second quadrant. So this is first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. So you can see that our vector is falling in the second quadrant. So in the second quadrant, the value will be 180 minus theta. So that will be 180 minus the angle that we got, which is 60. So 180 minus 60 is 120. So the angle will be 120 degrees and not 60 degrees. So we use 60, we use 120, which is the angle that we got after we know which quadrant our vector is falling. Now, all these things that we have done now, you can do it with our calculator too. You can use our calculator to do it. So how are we going to do that? So let me share the screen for the calculator. So this is our calculator. So you put it in complex mode. So you press mode. Then this complex is the number 2 that we have here. So as you can see, this is complex. So you select this complex mode. So select complex. So your calculator should indicate that you are now in complex mode. Look at that. Look at this top. You see that it has changed to complex. Then you input the forces with their angles. Please mute your mic. So you input each force with its angle. So the first force is 26 and the angle is 90. Now, if you want to input angle, you have to use this sign to represent your angle. So you see that it is yellow. So that means you press shift, then you press this button so that that symbol is going to appear. So you press shift, you press this, the symbol has appeared, then you put the angle, which is 90. So you do this plus the next force is 25. at an angle of 120 plus the next force is 20 26. Is it 26? 26 at an angle of 270 plus the next force is 10 at an angle of 300. 10 at an angle of 300. Now look at that. So
The first was is 20.
the first one is 20. Is it 20? Okay. So I've changed it. Thank you. So this is going to be the values. So we have for the horizontal, we have minus 7.5. And for the vertical, we have 6.99. Now, is that what we got? Minus 7.5 and 6.99. Oh, this one is 12.99. So that means that I have made a mistake. Did I make mistake? Okay. So that means that we have to do this again. That means I've made mistake somewhere. Oh, when I was pressing the calculator, for this one, I entered 26 instead of 20. So these values are going to change. So let me quickly correct that. So this should not be the value. This should not be the value. So that means that this is wrong and this is wrong. So let's see. What is it supposed to be? Uh, if you press all of this on our calculator, 20 cos 90 plus 25 cos 120 plus 26 cos 270 plus 10 cos 300. So you have minus 7.5, minus 7.5, and 20 sine 90 plus 25 sine 120 plus 26 sine 270 plus 10 sine 300. So you have 6.99. So that means here I will come and do 7.5 squared plus 6.99 squared. So square root of 7.5 squared plus 6.99 squared is 10.25. So this should give me 10.25 Newton. So the angle will now be tan inverse of the vertical, which is 6.99 over the horizontal 7.5. So shift tan 6.99 divided by 7.5 gives me 42.98. So where I made mistake was, this is 20, I was using 26. So we have gotten the angle now. Now we have to determine where it will be. The same thing that we did. So this is negative, so it will point to the right. This is positive, it will point up. So that means it's still lying in the second quadrant. So we are going to do 180 minus 42.98, and that will be the angle. So 180 minus 42.98. So you have 137.02. So that means that the force, the net force is 10.25 Newton at an angle of 137.02. So you can now go back to the calculator like that and check it out. Now, so you can see that we got the same thing for what we got now when we did it manually. So we have minus 7.5 and we have 6.99. Now, once you have the answer like this, once you have the horizontal and the vertical, this is the horizontal, this is the vertical, you now have to do the resultant. So your calculator can do resultant too. So if you want to do the resultant, press shift, then you press this button number 2, because it's on top of it that you have complex. So it will bring some options. So shift button number 2, try it out on your calculator. It will bring some options. So the third option, please turn off your camera. So the third option No, here it is the fifth option that it is here. This guy that I have here. This is the one that I want to use. This one. This real this resultant and angle. This is what I'm looking for. By the time you do it on your normal calculator, it will be option number 3 on your calculator. It's going to be option number 3 on your calculator. So you just press that 3 like that. But me, because my own calculator is different, I will have to go for 5. Sorry, shift button number 2, then me I will go for 5. You will go for 3. So it will bring the answer. So look at that. So it brought the answer as 10.25, 10.25, and that's what we actually got for the resultant, 10.25, and the angle is 137.01, which is the same thing that we got when we did it normally. So that's how you go about it. We have the value for the resultant and we have the value for the angle, 137.01, 10.25 Newton. So let me check. So that's correct. So we have 137.02 and 10.25 Newton. So, but there are some times that when you use the calculator, the calculator is going to give you a negative value for your angle. It happens like that sometimes, that when you do it, instead of it bringing this angle directly as 137.02, it can add minus to it. So if your calculator adds minus to your angle, what you just have to do is you add 360 to the value. Let's assume that after you did it, you got 10.25 and the angle is now minus 90 degrees. What do? You just take this angle like this and you add 360 to it. So you do minus 90 plus 360. So the answer will now be 270 degrees. That's what you do. If the angle is brought is negative. But if the angle is brought is not negative, then you don't have any problem. Just use it directly. Like this one now. You see that it didn't put minus there. So you just have to leave it like that. But if the angle now has minus, I'm talking about when you are using complex mode in your calculator and you try to solve it exactly the way I did it. Not when you are doing it manually. When you are doing it manually, that you are pressing cos, you are pressing sine, your calculator cannot help you to determine the sign of the angle. You have to draw this diagram so that you know which quadrant it falls. If it falls in the first quadrant, you leave it as theta. If it falls in the second quadrant, you do 180 minus theta. If it falls in the third quadrant, you do 180 plus theta. If it falls in the last quadrant, you do theta minus, sorry, 360 minus theta. So this one will be 360 minus theta. That's when you are doing it normally, that you are pressing cos, you are pressing sine. So that's how you are going to go about it. So there are 4 different conditions for this one. But when you are doing it with calculator, that you are entering the force and entering the angle. When you are entering the force and the angle, this one, there can only be 2 conditions. The angle can be negative and it can be positive. If the angle is negative, add 360 to it. If it is positive, leave it. So those are the only 2 conditions when you are using the complex mode of your calculator. But when you are doing it manually, there are 4 different scenarios that you can have. So that's how you do it using your calculator. If you have any question, you can ask. If you have any question, you can ask before we end the class. That's everything that we want to do. If you want to ask question, you have to unmute your mic so I can hear what you are saying. No question. Okay. So someone said there is no question. I don't know if that's true for everyone. No question. No questions, right? Okay. So two people have replied that they don't have any questions. Okay. So I think we can call it a day. Thank you.